Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Restio, and this is Library of Ruina. It's a bit late for me, but I wanted to go ahead and test out some new things and see if it's good enough. So I did do some grinding. I did go and fight the freaking angel boss again. Was a close call as always because of all the burn damage, but I, it seems like just rushing him and trying to get as much stagger damage in as possible seems to be what works. I don't really understand why the stagger damage actually works because it should be immune, but whatever, as long as it works. In any case, I also did some grinding of various other encounters to get all the various books I'm missing and pages I'm missing. Um, I'll go over those books later. I want to go ahead and test out the new Malkuth team. I guess one thing I will show off is I do have Nidori on Yesod's team decked out right now. She's using Leeway's page. And something I didn't realize about the range combatant pages, in the case of there's Leeway, and then there's of course Stefan and Tamaki. Tamaki and Stefan can only use ranged attacks. They cannot use melee at all. And Leeway can use both ranged and melee, so that kind of makes them stand out. Needless to say, there's only so many ranged cards, so it's definitely very limiting. And if you're playing any other character, you're using any of the other pages, you can't use any ranged cards at all. All the ranged cards have the same restriction where they get removed after you use them. But there's definitely some things you can do with that could be kind of advantageous. I'm not sure how you would play someone like Tamaki and Stefan, besides just being like just a ranged, hard-hitting support, I guess. I did notice that a lot of the ranged attacks have really good damage for some reason. I don't know, I just happen to do a lot of damage with them. In any case, so what you can do with it is you can take advantage of things like Brawl. So Brawl is the card that replaces its dice with other cards in your hand. So it never uses the dice it has on itself, but it can use, in the case of Brawl, it can use the dice of another Brawl, which means 4 attacks, which is pretty hefty. And so the idea is, most people do is they tend to do Gyongmi, because he's kind of built for it. Essentially, you just, anytime that you can attack, you'll get light back faster, and then you take advantage of the speed die to be able to do things like use weight up or loosen up to get light back. And then the rest of it's just going to be hit, spam Brawl, have the rest of your bookshelf filled with nothing but high cost cards, and do some hard hitting stuff with that. But what you can do if you have ranged attacks is you can spend the beginning spamming your range attacks and getting them out of your bookshelf, and then at that point you would just have nothing but Brawls and then maybe some high cost cards, or you could just have nothing but Brawls, in which case you would just always spam Brawl and it'll just keep doing the same dice over and over again. So that's kind of the idea. Unfortunately, it doesn't give you very much. Doing it with Leeway is a little less flexible because the big issue with Leeway is he doesn't have speed dice, so you have to go and add somebody that has speed dice, which takes up 4 of your 6, slots essentially. And then you end up only having 2 left to either take like Restfulness or something equivalent. Anyway, so like I said, that was for Nidori. I haven't finished the rest of Yesod's team yet. But with Malkuth, I have Kogosa here, who's also using Leeway's page. And as you can see, her setup's a little bit different. I have Weight Up to essentially kind of help restore light. And then I have, 5 ranged attacks that are single use, and then 3 Brawl cards. So the idea is eventually getting down to just 4 cards left. Use Weight Up whenever I need it. Use Weight Up to get it out of my hand, and then use Brawl, which will take the dice from another Brawl. Essentially, if all 4 Brawl hits and there's no damage reduction, it's essentially the highest damage that we have available to us. And as for her, I actually did a little bit different. I didn't take the one that restores light for her 2 cost. I took Razor Strike. I did notice that Brawl tends to do a lot of slashing, so I figured I'd add some bleed and hope that will help out a little bit. Anyway, Sine, I did get another Sayo page. The limit was supposed to be 2, and I don't know why, but it let me have another one. I think it might have been because I used one of the Sayo pages to passive arbitrate into a different page, and that gave me another slot, but I don't know. It's unclear. There's supposed to be a limit of how many of these pages you can get, even with resets. So I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that. In any case, I just kind of took everything that increased slash damage and bleed, essentially, and that's pretty much all I did with Sine here. And then Melkoth has using Oscar's page. Oscar is the guy that had the spear that you fight before you fight the angel guy. She has the ability to survive a lethal blow and be essentially immune to damage for the rest of that scene until next scene. Has extra speed, and then everything else is a bunch of pierce stuff. And then with the last slot, I went ahead and got instant cooking just to get some healing. I may replace that with something else, to be honest. And then the rest is like electric shock and biz. Biz is only useful for the first scene, but getting paralysis early on means I can get those hits in sooner, so, you know, it is what it is. Electric Shock, of course, will give me extra chances of paralysis, and then the rest of the cards are essentially a bunch of hard-hitting piercing attacks that can cause bleed, as well as some draw pages. Pretty much the biggest issue with this setup is I tend to bleed out a light rather quickly. And that's about it. Oh yeah, like I said, Sayo's page, Sine's page is very similar to Hod's. Essentially, it's a bunch of cleanups, handling work. I did take some Beyond the Shadows, because that has bleed on it. And essentially, I grabbed everything that had bleed and just went from there. Anyway, sorry for being all rambly. So the question is this going to be good enough for Fairy Festival? Oh yeah, and since this team has access to the teddy bear, one of the teddy bear abnormality cards actually can reduce the cost of your highest cost card, or at least the duplicates of it. So the idea is to put that on Brawl to make the rest of the Brawls cheaper. Alright. Alright, well. Okay, so 3 of them got paralyzed. And this thing is just going to be doing that. Okay. So first thing, oh my god, they're all ganging up on the same person. Okay. And I have the lowest speed. Now the good news is, since I'm ranged, I can shoot first. Beyond that, that's about it. Also, these things have only 10, what's it called? Stagger. And they're vulnerable to piercing. So, here's the plan. We're going to cap some fools. So what we can do here is start working out these range shots off. And then, let's see, what do we got? 3 to 7, this is 6. I definitely want to draw the attacks away if I can. Covers HP on hits, not a big deal. Does piercing, I can resist the piercing damage. Okay, so yeah, I can ignore you safely. The first strike is going to have -3 to the roll. Or maximum value reduced by 3. It says a random one, so I don't know if it'll apply to the first one. I hope it does, because that would save me a lot of trouble. Okay, I think I know what I want to do. We're gonna soak up your block dice. That's what we're gonna do. And then follow it up with a cleanup. And then use you to soak all the block dice. Okay, let's try this out. Okay, you're staggered. I'll take your hits, that's fine. Alright, stagger 2 of them. These things can't die, by the way. They just... Yeah, until the queen dies. At 1 HP, they'll be consumed by the fairy queen. If an ally with prepared meat has 1 HP, consume it at the start of the scene and gain 10 fragile. Okay. So yeah, puts that on the ally. That's the idea. But it only lasts for 1 turn, I think. Alright. Okay, let's keep firing away from those. What is this, 6 to 10? You do have paralysis, so I'll do handling work here. Clean up, handling work. Okay. And let's see if we can reduce you down to low HP. Okay, I think I understand the mechanics here. I think we need to force this thing to eat the allies before the 30 strength threshold. Alright, well, we'll do this to get a... Okay, you're staggered. Oh yeah, definitely overkill. Yeah, super overkill. Alright, so we got Display Affection. All dice gain 1 to 2 power and clash, but lose it when one-sided attack. When hits, inflict 1 to 3 burn. Okay, so I'll do the Display of Affection. I'm going to put it on Sine. There we go. So now, reduce defense, reduce offense, and takes 10 additional damage. God, I'm getting no luck on the draws here. That kind of sucks. Alright, well, with minus 10, that means all of those are 0. Okay, so what we want here is light. It's only for the scene, so we definitely need to make this happen. So we're gonna hit this thing with everything we got. Okay, let's try it. That's fine. Okay, gain 30 health and a bunch of strength, but you're currently staggered. So we can make this happen. I don't have enough to do tailoring. So let's do this. This. Yeah, thankfully with the stagger, that means the 30 strength doesn't matter. I can't use Brawl, because I don't have a card to go with it. But there we go. Alright. Not bad at all.
다들 수고했어.
Good to see you again, Malkuth.
오늘도 기운차구만, 말쿠트. 뭐 하고 있는 거야?
아, 롤랑. 보조사서들과 훈련하는 중이야.
분위기 좋은걸? 사이가 좋나 보네.
로보토미 때 함께했던 직원들이니까. 그때는 직원들과 함께 있어주지 못하고 뒤에서 보조만 했어. 이번에는 함께할 수 있어서 좋아.
예전 로보토미사의 직원들이라 감회가 새롭겠네.
맞아. 그리고 예전에는 내 잘못으로 인해 직원들을 심하게 몰아세웠어. 하지만 이번에는 달라. 할 수 있는 것부터 차근차근히 하려고 해. 과거를 직면하여 미래를 만들어라. 역사를 관통하는 문장인 것 같아 마음에 들었어.
맞는 말이야. 하지만 역사를 통해 배울 수 있는 사람은 드물지. 뻔한 말들은 알면서도 실천하기 힘든 일이니까.
옛날 일들에 대해 많이 생각해봤어. 나는 엘리아라는 사람이었어.
너의 첫 번째 삶?
응. 평범하게 도시의 둥지에서 자라 평범하게 공부를 하며 학교를 다녔지. 특별할 것도 없었어. 돈이 특별하게 더 많은 것도 재능이 특출난 것도 아니었으니까. 엘리아가 살던 둥지의 사람들은 다들 어딘가 초점을 잃고 허공만 바라보는 것 같았어. 도시에서 하얗고 검은 것만 보고 있었지.
하지만 둥지는 번쩍이고 화려한 빛깔들로 가득하지 않나? 가끔 눈이 아플 정도로 현란하던데.
그건 그렇지만 사람이 글자를 읽는 데에 다른 색은 필요 없었거든. 희고 검은 것을 다 담기도 벅찬데 쓸데없는 색까지 눈에 담을 여유가 없다고.
그렇다는 건 엘리아는 색을 볼 수 있었나 보지?
응. 볼 수 있다기보다는 보려고 했던 거지. 색이 처음부터 아예 없는 건 아니었으니까. 엘리아는 사람들에게 알려주고 싶었어. 색이란 게 얼마나 다채롭고 눈이 부신지. 서로 다른 색이 만나면 새로운 색이 탄생하는 것처럼 끝없이 자유롭게 변화할 수 있는 게 바로 색이라고. 엘리아는 그런 생각을 했던 것 같아.
꼭 남의 이야기를 하는 것처럼 말하네.
솔직히 엘리아와 내가 동일한 존재라고 느껴지진 않아. 많은 시간이 흘러서일까? 다른 사서들도 모두 그럴 거야. 오히려 내 삶은 로보토미에서 부여받은 두 번째 삶인 말쿠트에서 이어져 온 것만 같아. 그래서 첫 번째 삶인 엘리아는 어딘가 좀 낯설어. 그랬던 사람이 내 안에 있다는 느낌? 그리우면서도 서글프고 그러네.
난 잘 모르겠지만 어쨌든 좋은 건가?
그렇게 나쁜 기분은 아니야. 이제서야 나를 돌아볼 수 있는 여유가 생긴 것 같아. 내가 살아온 날들 말이야. 우리는 되돌아보는 시간이 너무 부족했어. 너무 앞만 보고 달려왔으니까. 그리고 어쩌면 엔젤라도
다들 되돌아볼 여유가 없지. 난 지금도 앞만 보고 달리고 있거든. 그래도 말이야, 지금 당장이 막막하거나 미래가 걱정스러울 때 과거를 돌아보면 해결책을 찾을 수 있다더라고.
그런 것 같아. 지금 당장의 문제들을 해결할 만한 건 잘 모르겠지만 엔젤라가 했던 말에 대한 대답은 어느 정도 찾은 것 같거든.
네가 누구였고 어떻게 살고 싶었는지에 대해?
맞아. 그때 당시에는 꿈이라고 할 게 없었지만 지금은 달라. 내가 만약 이 이후에 무슨 일을 할지 꿈꿀 수 있다면 난 건축가를 하고 싶지 않았을까 싶어. 건물을 설계하고 완성까지 모든 것을 총책임지고 지휘하는 사람 말이야.
건물은 그냥 뚝딱뚝딱 지어내는 게 아닌가 보네.
그렇지. 기능적으로 만들어낼 수 있는 최대치에서 가장 아름다운 외관을 생각하는 것부터 시작해야 하니까.
복잡한 거였구만.
그거 알아, 놀람? 사람이 건물을 만들지만 나중에는 건물이 사람을 만든다는 말. 새로 태어날 사람들이 이 도시의 건축물을 보고 자라면 어떤 영향이 갈까? 만약 내가 모든 사람의 기억에 남을 색이 담긴 건물을 만든다면 그런 생각이 드네.
말쿠트 너라면 잘 해낼 수 있을 것 같은데? 어울리기도 하고.
고마워. 롤랑 너도 나처럼 과거에 대해서 다시 한번 돌아보면 좋을 것 같아.
난 늘 뒤를 돌아보고 있지. 어쨌든 건축가의 꿈을 이룰 수 있다면 좋겠네.
Alright. New cards. Alright, so we got the fairies' care. The fairies protect our employees. Everything will be peaceful while you're under the fairies' care. For 3 scenes, recover 15% of max health, max 18 at the end of the scene. If the library is hit 3 times while this effect is active, lose 25% of current HP and lose max 30 and lose this effect. Yeah, so essentially, if you get whacked, you're getting hit too much, they'll think that the enemy is stealing their food and they'll eat you. Gluttony. The fairies were no more than carnivorous monsters, and their protection was their method to keep the meat fresh. Single ally. When attacking a target who already took damage on the same scene, deal plus 1 to 3 damage and recover 2 to 5 HP on hit. Predation. His stomach and face were ripped off, and his eyeballs and organs were damaged as if they were eaten by something. Meanwhile, the fairies had someone's blood and flesh smeared all over their mouths. Single ally. All allies except the selected librarian lose 10 health. The librarian recovers as much HP as the others lost from this effect, and gains 3 strength and 3 haste this scene. Kind of interesting. Anyway, we also got a new character, which I will gear up later. But yeah, it looks like Malkuth is taking advantage of this new life she has, and seems to be a bit more positive about it. and her quote was very similar to, I guess, the Lobotomy Corporation quote. I think the quote for Lobotomy Corporation was "Face the fear, build the future." I think it was. So it was all about just looking forward. Anyway, got a little bit of time, so let's go ahead and read some of these books while we got time to do it. Let's go ahead and finish the Gaze Office. We did Alex Page already, so let's do Dalek next. The nest is a home where birds brood their eggs. They use their wings to devotedly protect their eggs from outside threat. Such is the role of the nest and wings that constitute I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry, constitute the city. Do the eggs represent people inhabiting the nest, then? Not a chance. These eggs are the treasures that wings possess. Singularities, technologies that make money, featured in countless patents. Its resonance are nothing more than feathers of the wings that serve to protect the eggs. A wing will end up falling when it loses too many of its feathers, but it won't bother to desperately protect all of its feathers, since a feather or two will naturally grow back. They're basically expendables. The 26 wings have their own subsets of culture. It might be the personal preference of the wing's founder or the influence of the singularity, but the cultural styles and social atmosphere vary vastly between the nest. The wing's policies also determine the culture of the backstreets that belong to it. Each wing has distinct sets of conduct. Some wings take a relatively cooperative approach to their backstreets, while others thoroughly exploit them. But wings will be wings. Cooperation is just a fancy expression for taking advantage of the backstreets when the wing needs them. If you can't afford to enter a wing and have to live in the backstreets, you're better off settling in the district that suits you well. You'll still need a home and source of income, of course. Bono. People are hung up on money, but it's not just because they want to be well off. The formidable tax burden is a big part of why. No matter how humble your job is, you're still obliged to pay your duties if you earn money. It goes for every type of business transaction. Even syndicates are no exception. Anyone living in the city has to pay taxes. If you don't meet the deadline, you'll get a warning. For the first 3 offenses, you'll get a notice of warning and no other penalty. But if you don't pay your taxes for the 4th time, then you're dead meat. They'll come for you. The Eye will seek out tax evaders by any means, and the person it sends will rip those poor cheats to shreds. Right, we've already done those. Alright, so I believe we did one of these. Okay, so yeah, we did Pamela. Let's do Pamela E. Life insurance for fixers is often a sham. A lot of them take your money, never to give it back. Even if you terminate your insurance, they won't. It's not easy for your damage to be insured either. You have to be at death's door to qualify, pretty much. The chances are as low as winning the lottery. And what if you just up and died? What can the dead do with money? You'll be better off making a savings account for an augment procedure or quality workshop gear. I was a very lucky case. Keep in mind that this isn't the norm at all. Insurance can sometimes be useful depending on its form and conditions. Sure. But if you take the pay into account, it still doesn't feel too great. Oscar. The 8 o'clock circus was a real sort of a case. Its leader wasn't a particularly powerful enemy, but it took a long time to assess the strengths and behavior of each of his crew. There was no specific pattern to it, and it was difficult to predict what would come next. It was akin to watching an erratic circus of lunacy. Their lair was mysterious and terrifying bleak. And the crew took hideous forms as well, looking too grotesque to possibly be considered normal living beings. They were as strong as they looked. When the blob shaped like a lion bit Pamela with its blunt teeth, her body quite literally blew up on the spot. However, our enemies were slowly brought down from the vantage point, and when they were completely cornered, the leader escaped along with a few of his crew. Even though we couldn't put an end to the case, we decided to prioritize recovering Pamela's body, as we deemed the circus would be weakened enough to stay low for a while. As we stored Pamela's head in a stasis preservation case and headed to the exit of the collapsing circus tent, we ran into a group of fixers. They seemed rather exhausted after fighting a swarm of the crew outside. I suppose that's why they couldn't enter the tent until that moment. It's not uncommon for 2 or more offices of fixers to be present at the scene of a finished case, so I gently nodded to greet them, identifying ourselves as fixers of Wedge Office who have come here to solve the case. The shortest person among them, the aged-looking woman who appeared to be the representative of that group, looked around the circus tent, let out a deep sigh, and introduced herself as Moses, of Moses's office. While smoking from her pipe, Moses then started thinking, presumably ruminating over what words to choose. She must have taken a request that was rather tricky to disclose. The two behind her, nervously exchanging glances with each other, appeared to be her bodyguards of some sort. Having such trivial thoughts, I waited for this Moses person to resume speaking. After a brief period of silence, Moses breathed out a smoke in the other direction and asked me where the leader of the circus went. Since I didn't know much better than them, I told them what I could in brief. They seemed troubled by my unhelpful answer, but they soon accepted it and left the scene. That group reportedly appears every time a case of the distortion is solved. They're allegedly working as the distortion detective, but recent witnesses of their appearance were always followed with a distortion case in the same location. While it's unclear whether they're involved in this case, I believe there's enough reason to be wary of them. Alright, and then we already done Dawn. Yeah, we did Dawn. And we did... Yeah, and we did the, we've already done Full Stop. Okay, so with that, we're kind of good to go. I do need to set up a set for Maki. I might make her just a pure range character and see how that plays out. Obviously, we still need to get Netsatch and Yasad caught up, which is... there's various builds. I mean, one of the popular builds, obviously, is the one involving Brawl here. So I might make one that just uses Young Mi's page, because Young Mi actually has plus speed. So we'll see how that goes. But for right now, I think I should go get some sleep. So I am the Depressed Theodore, and this was Library of Ruina. I'll see you guys next time.